Hello there, dear YouTubers. My name is King1993, and today I will be talking about another Genshin Impact character, and today's character will be called Lubin, the Geo Traveler. Okay, so today's topic will be about the Geo Traveler and what is the best weapon for her, what is the best artifact set, how can you use her properly, and what type of character is she, whether is she a DPS, sub DPS, or a support characters. We shall see about that in the following. Okay, now first of all let's talk about what type of character is she. Is she a sub DPS, main DPS, or a support character? Now do understand that a support character basically puts a certain type of elemental skill or elemental burst which will continuously do an effect on the enemy, and when you use your main DPS character, then those effect are gonna do a lot of elemental reaction which will eventually do a lot of damage dealing. Okay, but in this traveler case, Geo Traveler, that is, both her talent, both her sorry, not talent actually, both her elemental burst and elemental skill are built in such a way that if you were to use the elemental skill, what will happen is it will basically put 3 boulders on the ground, and once the expiration of those boulder happens, which is about 30 seconds, then those boulders will explode. Other than that, the main DPS character cannot actually take advantage of it, but it does have a very high amount of damage dealing, so obviously these fall into the category of sub DPS. But what about Wake of Earth? Wake of Earth also has the similar thing, that it does a shockwave, and the shockwave actually does damage of 196 damage, and it does continuous shockwave, that is if you have Zhongli in your team. And because having Zhongli's elemental skill activated, then what will happen is this Wake of Earth, whatever boundary it is gonna make, is gonna constantly do damage on the enemies. A good example would be just showing you how actually it happens. First of all, let's see the elemental burst. As you can see, this elemental burst has created this boundary. Now basically what you can do is you can block those boundaries using these elemental skill boulders, so that when you are trying to fight a single enemy, no other enemies can actually interfere your battle. Okay, so this is basically how she works. And in case if you have Zhongli in your team, then what will happen is each time you apply these boulders or those boundary which just happened because of the elemental burst, they are gonna do some AoE geo damage. So which is why she is basically falls into the category of sub DPS, not as a support or a main DPS character as well. So I highly recommend that if you want to use her, then I suggest that you use her as a sub DPS character and nothing else. Okay, now let's talk about the Constellation. Now basically I'm gonna talk about the important Constellation only. First of all, at Constellation 1, what happens is Wake of Earth, or basically the ultimate, will do another 10% critical damage upon the whole party member. So whatever party member that you already have in your team is gonna get a 10% critical damage bonus, sorry, critical rate bonus. Okay, now at Constellation 2, Starfall, or basically the elemental skill, is gonna explode when it gets maximum amount of damage. So if too much damage is done to those boulders, or eventually when the expiration of those boulders happen, those boulders will do AoE geo damage. Okay, now let's talk about the fourth Constellation. This fourth Constellation basically causes the Wake of Earth, or basically speaking the elemental burst, to generate 5 energy for every opponent hit. So it can produce a maximum of 25 energy. So basically speaking, if you have 5 enemies in front of you and you use the Geo Traveler's elemental burst, then it will create 25 energy, which is a lot, like 1/3 of the energy. Okay, let me check again. So the energy amount she needs is 60, and just by doing the elemental burst she is gaining back about one third, no, half. Okay, she is gaining almost half of the energy back by just activating the elemental burst. And finally, this Wake of Earth at Constellation 6, what happens is the barrier created by Wake of Earth lasts 5 seconds longer. So whatever the duration is gonna increase about 5 seconds longer. The meteorite created by Starfall will also last 10 seconds longer. Okay, so eventually what happens at Constellation 6 is both our elemental skill and elemental burst is gonna stay longer period of time. For the Wake of Earth, which is the elemental burst for 5 seconds, and the elemental skill will stay longer for about 10 seconds. So obviously you are gonna get all of these constellation for free, but the major constellation are this 2, 4 and 6. So these are the 4 major constellation which are gonna make your gameplay feel a bit better if you were to have this constellation at their full capacity. So I highly suggest that if you do get this constellation, immediately upgrade them as fast as possible, and do not worry, they are eventually free. Okay, now let's talk about what is the best artifact set for her. Okay, now to be told, since I do not use Geo Traveler at all, I actually cannot say what is the best artifact for her. Rather, I had to go to some other website to actually know what is the best artifact for her. And from the 2 websites which I regularly follow on a regular basis, and that website is called Genshin.gg or this game8.co. So basically what they do the calculation and eventually find out what is the best artifact set. Now the best artifact set for the Geo Traveler is this Archaic Petra. Same thing here as well, Archaic Petra. Okay, or here it basically shows 2 sets of Archaic Petra and 2 sets of Gladiator Finale. Now it seems to be a bit different from one website to another, but trust me, these websites are not actually that much bad. These websites are actually good websites. But in case if you are wondering, okay, since Archaic Petra seems to be good enough for the Geo Traveler, now the next question is, what is the best main stats for them? Now the best main stats for them are similar on both websites, and that is the attack percentage, geo damage, and attack percentage again. And here it is, same thing, attack percentage, geo damage bonus, and again attack percentage. So your main target should be in the following manner, such as you should try to give her the attack percentage, geo damage bonus. I seem to have some other damage bonus such as hydro damage or cryo damage. I do not use these. Okay, I'm just giving you an example, and also attack percentage as well. So that is basically how you know which artifact set that you must need to give her, and which main stat you must need to give her as well, to make sure that she can do a large quantity amount of damage to the enemy as a sub DPS character. Okay, now we are finally at the weapon part of this video. Now what is the best weapon for her? Now there is 2 type of weapon categories: grindable weapon and a gacha type of weapons that you can only get if you do the 10 pulls, that is. So out of those 2 categories, majority of the player who are at the beginning part, that is gonna be getting the 3-star weapon. Now the thing is, what is the best 4-star weapon or grindable 4-star weapon for this Geo Traveler? Now do remember that the Geo Traveler is a Geo user, and Geo user doesn't actually have a good elemental reaction. So as a result, what happens, this elemental reaction only forms crystals or crystal shields. So these are not a great examples of elemental reaction. So the type of weapon you should be giving them are weapons which has high physical damage, high critical damage, high critical rate, okay, this type of thing, or high attack percentage. This type of secondary stats are the thing that you should be aiming for this type of Geo characters. Now in case if you are wondering, then what is the best free to play weapon for her? The best free to play weapon for her is actually this prototype Run 4, especially the grindable one. the Iron Sting is an elemental mastery, so I do not agree with this one. Neither do I agree with Anemona Kageuchi, because this maximum amount of damage can only be output if the character which is using has an elemental burst energy at 100%. So I highly suggest that you give her this prototype run for. Now, where did I found the information from? I did information from this calculation from this website, just by combining this base, secondary stat and passive, and eventually found out these numbers. Then the question is, okay, then what is the best weapon, best 5-star weapon for her? Now the best 5-star weapon for her is actually the Summit Shaper. Now the question is, why not Aquila Favonia and why not Mist Military Force? Now do remember that Mist Military Force, even though it is the strongest weapon in the game, this weapon can only be benefited from characters which has other elemental reaction except Geo. So this Mist Military Force is not the best weapon. Neither is Aquila Favonia, because the maximum amount of number you are seeing here can only be performed once every 15 seconds. And what is the max amount of damage which can be done every second? The max amount of damage which can be done every second is actually 1200 or 23, something like that. So when compared to 1223 and compared with the Summit Shaper 1517, you can probably guess why this is the winner by several hundred points. Okay, so in that regard, I highly suggest that you give her the Summit Shaper. Another thing about Summit Shaper passive is you can activate it a majority of the time. For example, let me show you Summit Shaper. Here it is. Normally it has a secondary stat of 49.6. okay, let's work with about that. Here is the thing, that if any wizards were to be equipped and also being used as a shield, okay, let's say I have Noel in my party and the Geo Traveler as well. So immediately after activating the Noel's elemental skill, the Geo Traveler is gonna get about a 40% shield strength, and this 40% shield strength with this another 40% of attack bonus, and this 40% attack bonus can happen within a very short period of time. If the Geo Traveler attacked an enemy for a matter of 5 seconds, then eventually this maximum damage is gonna stack up to 5 times, which will be 40% damage for 40 seconds. So eventually you can see why this weapon is good for her. And not only that, if the main character or the Geo Traveler that is gets protected by a shield, then this 40% attack is gonna turn into 100% attack, and this 100% attack can last up to a matter of 40 seconds. So obviously this Summit Shaper is actually superior than any of the other weapon when you are gonna put it on the Geo Traveler. Okay, so the best weapon, best 5-star weapon for the Geo Traveler is actually the Summit Shaper. So this is the conclusion of which type of weapon is actually best for her. So finally, we are now at the end topic of this video, where I am gonna give my conclusion. And my conclusion is, she is a main DPS, sorry, she is a sub DPS character. Her sub DPS character practicality is extremely high, and for the Constellation, you can get her Constellation very easily because she is a Geo Traveler, and the Traveler will get all of the Constellation for free. And for the artifact set, make sure that you give her this Archaic Petra in the following pattern, such as this one should be attack percentage, Geo damage bonus or whatever percentage it is, and this one should be attack percentage as well, to make sure that she can do the maximum amount of damage to the enemy. And for the best weapon for her, the free to play weapon is this prototype Randcore, and the best 5-star weapon for her is actually the Summit Shaper. So overall, my conclusion of this video is this. And also, if you like this type of video, then I highly suggest that you please give a like, subscribe, and click to my channel. Click the bell notification icons to make sure that you will get this type of content on a regular basis. And also please do those three things, otherwise the YouTube algorithm will not promote my videos to other people. And I did put a lot of time and effort to actually understand what each of these category means and how we can benefit from that. So making this type of video actually requires huge amount of my time, and I want to actually benefit from it because I wanted to be a gaming programmer, but eventually that hope was lost. Now I try my best to actually do the gaming related stuff on this YouTube, so that I can feel the pleasure of having these type of things. Okay, so anyway, if you like this video, then tune on again next time. Until then, goodbye.